barbell deadlifts, barbell squats, overhead press, lat pull down, chest press. And when you're ready to stop, repeat. That's how we climb Olympia. When you push that extra rep, when you pull another set, when you lift that one last rep, you will climb the mountain and no one will forget. Bring on the build with the NASM Physique and Bodybuilding Coach Program.
You're listening to Random Fit with hosts Wendy Batts and Ken Miller, winner of a Gold Markham Award for Digital Media.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's episode of Random Fit. I am Wendy Batts here with my friend and colleague, as always, Mr. Ken Miller. Ken, how are you?
As always, good.
Good.
How are you doing, Wendy?
I am good as well.
All right.
I'm really excited about this week's episode because we have one of our special guests returning. We have Miss Kat Barefield joining us today, and she is the VP of Fit's Nutrition Services. She is a registered dietitian, so everything nutrition, we bring her on. And then she's also one of our NASM Nutrition Master Instructors. So, Kat, welcome to the show, girl.
Hello. Happy November. It's November, right? 2020.
It is November.
Last I checked. Well, thanks for coming back. I know we always ask every time we have some nutrition questions in our heads or we start thinking, okay, you know what? It's the holidays. We definitely need to bring Kat back on. So thank you for being here because, you know, we know you're going to say it depends, but today we have this good vibe that you're going to be able to give us some really good information.
Yes, I definitely will do my best, even though for the most part, it depends.
All right. So, Kat, let's start it off with what we're talking about here and the holidays, the last couple months out of the year, which I don't want to say kills me, but, you know, it is one of those situations where I have to struggle and I have to be more conscious. But as it is with everybody else, what is it about November and December that make this a more challenging time actually to think about what you're eating and consuming?
Yeah, I think it really boils down to availability, right? I mean, our favorite foods sort of that are associated with maybe some good family childhood memories around the holidays. You know, food is associated with celebration around this time of year. So you're going to see it at work. You're going to see it at, parties. It's going to be everywhere. So increased availability and more occasions to eat.
Great.
Yeah. And I know with you, Wendy, you've got your little one and I've got my two. And when you talk about availability, Kat, because, we're talking about 3 weeks where the kids are home from school, right? 3 weeks total that they're home from school. So availability, it's not just that the kids are home, but the snacks come out. And of course, November, December coming right after Halloween. It's just I'll testify to the fact that availability is, there's food on the table because, the last thing I want to do is keep getting things out of the cupboard, getting things out of the fridge. So how do you handle with the kids situation? How do you manage availability since you brought up availability?
Okay, so a lot of that has to do with, the choices that you bring into the home. Obviously, as parents, you don't have to bring all the treats in associated with different holiday parties or occasions, etc. And then, in terms of, holiday eating and parties, you're sort of at the mercy of your environment, so to speak. And so you have to maybe with our kids in particular, have to help them, make choices that are conducive to whatever it is that you're trying to achieve. So, Wendy, I know you hate it when I say this, but it does depend, right? So first and foremost, not having stuff around. That is key. And then limiting exposure. So with the kids being home is one thing, limiting snacks and stuff around is another thing. And then at work for us, it's how do we limit our exposure to different foods at work? Well, you can avoid the break room. You cannot be the person that's bringing in the junk, right? So what are we dealing with? It depends on the situation.
Well, you make that sound so easy. I know myself, I am and I've said this on multiple shows, and unfortunately my husband can be like, yes, she is terrible, but I do everything that I can to try to cook really good foods and everything. But my little guy likes to make cupcakes, and he wants to make cookies, and he wants to do all of this. And while I like to make it, I also like to get it out of the house. So give it as gifts. I know that's one thing that we try to do. But in your opinion, and as an RD, if I were to come to you, and I know a lot of people, especially this time of year, Kat, come to you, like they'll ask you, how do you prepare? I mean, when you're trying to make really good choices and all of this stuff is available, and I know you like just avoid this or avoid that, but is there anything, like if you're going to go to a holiday party, so Thanksgiving dinners over at families or Christmas dinners, how do you honestly prepare yourself to try to make better choices other than saying, okay, no stuffing, no this, no that, when that's not a thing?
Yeah. Yeah, that's not realistic. So what most people will do is they'll just try to white knuckle it, right? They're just going to be like, I'm going to go and I'm just going to, try not to eat X, Y, Z, tell themselves all these different rules, right? Which typically they don't follow because, there's too much temptation and we're humans. So we tend to give in. So the way I would approach it is you got to learn how to go in with the mindset of I'm going to enjoy myself instead of trying to deprive myself. And then give yourself some limits. So one of the sort of the rules is don't show up like completely hungry, starving. Like a lot of people are like, I'm just not going to eat, and then I'm going to go to this party and I'm going to allow myself to do it. That's like the worst thing you can do, because what happens when you're really hungry? What do you want to eat when you're really hungry?
Everything.
Right? So that's not the right strategy to just not eat, starve yourself, and then go in with a hungry mindset. Instead, go in with, I'm going to pick the foods I really enjoy. I'm going to get a reasonable amount on my plate, really savor and enjoy it. And then going in, I'm going to eat something that'll help dampen my appetite. So typically things like protein or fiber-rich foods, fruits and veggies, good little oatmeal with some blueberries on it, things like that are going to fill you up and satisfy you, but not have a ton of calories. And that way you go in and you're ready to eat at the holiday party, but you're not starving and beating yourself up, right?
She makes it sound so simple, Ken.
Because it is, Wendy.
Simple is not the same thing as easy, right?
That's true.
So you've got to be super intentional with your mindset going into the holidays. I'm not going to deprive myself. I want to enjoy the holidays. I want to enjoy my family. I want to enjoy the food. At the same time, I don't want to beat myself up after the fact because I ate too much. So let's take a different approach. Let's, eat something healthy going in, and then build a good plate where I can really savor each bite instead of trying to focus on quantity. Let me eat everything I possibly can. Well, can you eat everything? You probably can, but not in large quantities, right? You can take a bite of everything and enjoy each of those bites.
That's right. So here we are on Random Fit with our special guest, Miss Kat Barefield, and we're talking about holiday do's and don'ts. So Wendy Batts and I, Ken Miller, are bringing you some timely information when it comes to the months of November and December, where things tend to get a little hectic when it comes to food availability. So food availability, to say the least. Big spread. Well, I mean, in our home, when it comes to any of our family get-togethers, I mean, you're talking about 3 tables wide, from desserts to definitely got to have the pot of rice and all the cultural stuff that I'm sure that you've had, Kat, is like, along with myself, with adobo and sinigang, just to name some Filipino foods that I only get so often. So those are the things that I like to front end. So when we talk about preparing for the holiday, those are some great tips. But what foods, again, if I have my favorites, what foods should I increase to make sure that I add that in there once I get to, this big smorgasbord of 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 food and stuff I only get once a year.
Yeah. So I don't like people to should on themselves, right?
You said should, right? Should.
I said should.
Okay, should. Okay.
Right? So around the holidays, like, what do you want to eat, Ken? Like, eat what you want to eat and savor each bite, get a reasonable quantity. Right now, if you want to limit the portion sizes, there are things you can do, like drink a big glass of water prior to your meal, build your plate, start with the salad and the veggies, fill yourself up on fiber-rich foods. And when you do that, you're going to get more, fullness in your tummy. You're going to feel more satiated, and you're going to be less inclined to overeat. But if you go in thinking I need to restrict, or I should do this or should do that, it's really, you're setting yourself up for some failure. Just go in and go, I'm going to eat what I want in a good quantity, and I'm going to, fill myself up with some healthier, nutritious foods so that I don't overeat, but I'm going to enjoy what I want to eat.
So Ken, I'm gonna ask a question that's really about what you just stated. So because I am not Filipino and I have not been able to enjoy any smorgasbord of what you're talking about, like I'm from Nashville, y'all, and so I like chicken and dumplings, which is basically dough, like dough that's been savored in this like chicken broth, and it is terrible for you. There's nothing nutritious in this whatsoever. And so when I say chicken and dumplings, that's what I mean, boiled chicken that's like, broken up and put into these, not Bisquick dough, like homemade, like it rises all day. And then we cut it into different pieces and then we boil it. And
Yum.
So when you're talking about these particular items, can you describe what is that?
Well, let's say one of my favorite foods from growing up, and my dad, when I go to San Diego and I visit my family, my dad knows that, okay, if my flight lands at 4:00, he's got a pot of what we call sinigang on the stove ready to go. And that's usually something that's going to be at holiday parties if you're going to a more of a Filipino Thanksgiving or Christmas party. But it's basically a soup, Kat. Now, correct me if there's anything I'm missing here, but it's pretty much a tangy soup with cabbage and potatoes. And and depending on the region of the Philippines, there's different ways of making this soup. So you'll have like different versions of chicken, beef, or even fish, depending on who's making it. But of course, there's nothing like the way how my dad makes it. So I'm actually getting hungry, and my mouth is watering as I don't know what other key ingredients are in sinigang, Kat.
Well, it depends. I like to make it with salmon and green beans and tomatoes and things like that. But so we all have our cultural foods, right? That like we love to consume, especially on holidays. And I think the main point here, you guys, is one meal is not going to like throw you completely off track, right? Like it's the habits, it's the daily habits, it's the things we do all the time that really affect our waistline and our health. So although we want to, make good choices around the holidays, I do think it's important to really be intentional with, I'm going to enjoy my food, right? Enjoy my family, enjoy this time of year. But at the same time, I'm going to plan ahead and be proactive with making sure I don't go in overly starving, right? With making sure I do get my salad to fill me up and drink a glass of water, and making sure that, I don't stress myself out while it's supposed to be the happiest time of the year. Does that make sense?
Yes. And it is a very stressful time of year. We are actually talking about that the other day, that, the holidays, while it should be time for enjoying our family and enjoying our friends and being super thankful for everything that we have, and that the fact that we wake up every single day, those are the things that we sometimes, I think, set aside because we're worried about, is the meal going to be done on time? Is everything going to be set out okay? Is everyone showing up? So I know that there's a ton of stress behind that. which leads to stress eating. And then of course I like to taste things as I go, just to make sure that I didn't screw something up again, because I follow every recipe to the T, just to make sure that I don't mess something up. But Kat, when you guys were talking about, the stuff that you guys enjoy, I've heard you say multiple times that even soup is actually something that can help fill you up, as long as it's, a good type of soup. But, again, way different than the chicken and dumplings that I would say that, I've got to have on my plate. So when we're thinking about being mindful, of why we're with, our friends and family, and the purpose of the different holidays and what the different holidays means to us. And no matter, what you celebrate, what are certain things to kind of be mindful of? I mean, I know eating beforehand, that's important, but are there certain things you really want to limit, or maybe just not include, because it really can set you back further?
No, I don't think so. I don't think anything is really off limits, right? Again, one meal is not going to throw you all the way off unless you're eating from sunrise to sundown. And in that case, you're not going to gain a whole bunch of weight, right? I think this is going to sound weird, but I think the most thing to be mindful of is to really savor the food, right? Instead of going in and trying to eat everything, like savor each bite, enjoy the mouthfeel. That's what mindful is, right? Being in the present moment, being aware. So really enjoy it. Take the time to enjoy it. And if you want to slow yourself down, there's a couple little tricks, like put your fork down in between bites, right? That's one thing to slow down the consumption of eating. Eat with chopsticks. Sounds really weird, but
I will be eating all day. That is not good for me.
But I mean, it is a trick, if you will, right? Or you fill your plate up with a plate of food, and then when you're done, put the plate away, and then avoid where the food is. Right. And then if your tendency is to snack and have things in your hand, hold a beverage, glass of water, and then sip water throughout. Be with the people around you. Enjoy the conversation. Be in the moment. Right. These are the sort of cornerstones of being mindful, if you will, as opposed to going in with, I'm going to restrict. I can't eat this. I can't eat that. That causes stress. And then you don't even enjoy it. You miss the moment.
Wine and water. That's pretty much equal, right? I just want to make sure we're clear here.
Well, and then to your point, you could alternate between, like, okay, I'm going to have a couple glasses of wine today. I'm going to allow myself to do that. But I'm also in between those glasses going to have a big glass of water. Right? So include it in your plan, so to speak, if you're going to have that, and be intentional, as opposed to what do people do? They try to white knuckle. I'm not going to drink. I'm just going to drink water. And then what happens? Someone goes, hey, I have a glass of wine. And you're like, oh, thank you. And then you take it, right? As opposed to going, I'm going to allow myself to have this glass of wine. I'm going to enjoy it. I'm going to drink water in between. I'm going to talk to my family. I'm going to enjoy the music and whatever shows you guys are watching, and be in the moment.
Right. Now that's actually really great information, because one of the things that I like to do, and something I've had to monitor, the last few years, is when I'm eating and I've got that plate of whatever I've put on there, it's customary for us to sit on the couch and watch football or basketball. And the next thing you know, it's a timeout, and you look at the plate and it's gone, it's empty. Right. So when you talk about being mindful and being in the moment, watching TV was one, I realize is one of the worst behaviors I could do, because here I am and I'm consuming, between each play, and next thing I know, my plate is gone. I had zero recollection of what I just ate, what I just tasted, and what I just took in. It looked good when I put it on there, but the next thing I know, it's empty. I don't know. Am I the only one that's just, when I'm watching TV, when I'm watching games and sports, and I'm like, so
that's
to
too
your
much
point,
wine
I'm
and not enough water if you don't remember what you ate.
Yeah.
You're not the only one.
The
right?
mindfulness wasn't there.
Yeah, exactly. So So here's the key thing to changing behavior. It starts with awareness, right? You have to be aware of something in order to change it. So that's the good news, is that you're aware that you're doing that. Now, the second thing is set an intention. So you're going to sit on the couch like you normally do with your family. And instead of mindlessly eating, you're going to pay attention to the way the food tastes in your mouth. You're going to like savor it. You're going to take your time consuming it, right? And then part of being mindful is you're going to pay attention to your body sensations. You can pause at the commercial break or in between plays at fourth down and they're in a timeout, and you can be like, okay, how am I feeling? Am I satisfied? On a scale of 1 to 5, how satisfied am I? And then you start paying attention to, you know what? I really enjoyed that and I'm feeling satisfied. I can pause now. Right? So you're breaking the unconscious behavior of overeating by paying attention and setting an intention around how you're going to enjoy your food. It's not going to come from, right? It's going to come from chewing, swallowing, paying attention to your status. I know it just sounds kind of corny, you guys, but it really is proven stuff that you can use.
Well, today on Random Fit, myself, Wendy Batts, and Ken Miller have our special guest that is not sounding corny whatsoever, Miss Kat Barefield, joining us, who is the VP of Nutrition Services at .fit, as well as one of our registered dietitians that we lean on very heavily when we start talking everything food and drink. But Kat, you've provided some really good information, I think, when it comes down to when we're in the moment, we're going to these holiday events. And you said, and you've said this multiple times today, it's okay to enjoy that one meal. When Ken said that, I kind of laughed because we have this big luncheon, I know, around Thanksgiving, and then we do sit down and watch football, or we'll play games with the kids or do something. And then we actually go back and have the same thing for dinner. So there's actually 2 meals of a repeat sometimes, or that's when all the desserts come out. But Kat, the next day you wake up, a lot of people feel miserable because they're, maybe they didn't drink enough water and they had too much alcoholic beverages, or maybe they overly, stuffed themselves the next day. But, at that point, we start looking into other holidays that are right around the corner. But in your, with your advice, what would you say to everyone that feels like, okay, what do I do the next day? I know that I ruined yesterday, but today's a new day.
Yeah. So I think what the first thing I would, again, if we go back with the intention is I'm going to savor my food, each bite, I'm going to enjoy the holiday. Then the next day is like a new day. Let's just get back on track with our normal eating habits. Let's get a workout in or a walk in, or, let's just go about our day. That one meal, that one day is not going to make or break your results. So have a glass of water, go for a walk, get your workout in. Have what you normally eat for the day. And I think maybe probably the most thing is let's say you did completely blow it, don't beat yourself up. Because when you beat yourself up, you just feel even crappier.
Forgive.
You be gentle with yourself. Okay, maybe I didn't do as good as I wanted to, but today's a new day and let's get back on track. I mean, you guys, humans don't change by beating themselves up. This is what we do to ourselves, but humans change by being nice to themselves, by feeling good. So we're all humans. We're all going to make mistakes. I blew it. You know what? New day.
Just don't say that every day, right?
Yeah, now if you're saying that every day, then that's a different story, right? If you're saying that every day, then we sort of have to rethink what we're focusing on. Maybe we're doing too much too soon. Maybe we have this black and white all or none thinking that we can talk about. And that a lot of people do that too, going into the New Year's, is they think they can change their lifetime's worth of eating habits overnight. So when it comes to holiday eating, what are some of the things that we want to make sure we don't do? Don't go in starving, right? Don't go in restricting. Go in with the mindset of enjoying your food, being mindful, and to control some calories. What can you do? You can drink a big glass of water in between or right before meals. You can load up your plate with fruits and veggies first, and then pick your favorite foods. You can slow down your eating and pay attention to the mouth feel and the way your stomach feels. You can self-rate your feeling of fullness throughout the day to check in. And then we didn't talk about the activity part, right? You can take walks after your big meals, take walks with your family members you haven't seen and catch up with them. You can go outside and toss the football around if it's nice weather like it is in Southern California. There's all kinds of things you can do to stay on your feet and enjoy the holidays and enjoy the presence of not just the food, but family as well.
No, those are great points. And I think just to give it some context, I know what we're talking about right now is relative to the US, right? When we're talking about Thanksgiving, Christmas, and whatever holiday you're celebrating at this time of year, plus New Year's, but relative to our partners and those that are listening to us in Europe, Alex in Serbia and Germany and Dubai, we as we've traveled, we've met more people that actually are listening to us. So thinking about them, and I think Kat and Wendy, you guys might agree that, we're talking about situations where you've got holidays that are back to back to back, or even celebrations like what we're talking about, where you're seeing somebody that you haven't seen since last year, right? Since the last family or get together, when we're talking about, weddings where people tend to come from out of town, holidays, birthdays, very special occasions. So these are very practical, hands-on bits of information that you're sharing with us that, we can apply in multiple situations, and not just what we're talking about in the context of this Random Fit podcast with eating do's and don'ts, where everything is one right after the other. And there's a definite tendency to overconsume.
Yes. And I will say one of the strategies that I've done in previous years is I get my skinny jeans and I will put them on the next day to see how they fit. And if they don't, then that usually sets me it's a real thing. And you guys know what I'm talking about. Ken, I know you have your skinny jeans,
Oh yeah.
Rocking those in Serbia, or we saw people that were rocking really, really skinny jeans that we were like, oh man, and where Ken thought his skinny jeans were baggy. So that tells you something across the globe that, maybe that's your cue to maybe really think twice about the things you put in your mouth.
Yeah. I mean, there is some research around that, believe it or not, but we can talk about that another day. But basically, but basically, the essence of it is if you don't realize your body is changing over time because your clothing is loose, then it does lead to more spontaneous weight gain than people who either check their weight regularly or wear fitted clothing, where it does sort of give you a signal that your body is putting on extra weight. So it is a form of weight control to either monitor your weight or your size with your clothing.
Yes, yoga pants is not the way to go. I'll tell you that. So when you actually have to put real clothes on, that is your way to go.
Okay, so
signal to break the continuous eating or the mindless eating is if you're wearing a tight, fitted pair of jeans. As your stomach starts to expand, it gets uncomfortable. So let's add that to the strategies, right? Let's wear a nice fitted piece of skinny jeans to the holiday parties as another signal to remind us that we might want to stop and pay attention to how we feel.
All right.
Right?
That's where you just unbutton the top button and you start to untuck things. That's the workaround, Kat.
But at least it's a chance to break the pattern as opposed to wearing yoga pants and you don't even you're full, but you just keep going because you don't get a signal, right?
Oh, until the elastic band starts cutting through your stomach, and then you're like, okay, you're really in trouble there.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, the holidays really, you guys, they're to be enjoyed. They're not to stress us out. We could advise our clients to do all kinds of things, but I think the main thing is to just be mindful, enjoy the foods. And then to Ken's point on cultural foods, there's trade-offs that you can make to make it healthier. So if you're going to go for the chicken and dumplings, Wendy, well, then maybe you don't go for the garlic mashed potatoes, so you have one over the other, or you limit your portion sizes, right? Instead of eating all the different desserts, you pick one, or you pick a little bite of each one to limit the portion sizes. So there's all kinds of strategies that we can employ, depending on what works, but definitely don't show up hungry. Don't show up, don't shit on yourself, so to speak. I'm not going to eat this. I'm not going to eat that. Go in and enjoy it and just savor it.
I love it.
Awesome. Love it, Kat. So thanks for the breakdown on all of that. So I've taken some notes as I always do, and I'm going to staple it inside my shirt as I my button up. I'm gonna go. All right, and just one bite of each one of the. All right. But Kat, as always, this has been a great learning experience, especially as we here, especially in the United States, get into the holiday seasons. But something to keep in mind for any situation where you're going to be amongst friends, family, and there is reason to celebrate. So, Kat, one of the big takeaways I got from you is just be in the moment, enjoy, and savor every last bite. So that's that's what I'm saying. I'm going to savor every bite. So, on behalf of
If you savor every bite, you're not going to be, wow, it's all gone. I didn't even realize I ate that. So it's going to limit, right? It's going to limit calorie intake.
That's right. And I'm going to put my jeans, my skinny jeans, in the dryer, high heat, and then I'm going to put them on when they've just shrunken the most. And that's going to be basically my tape measure. So
there you go. You need to have Stacy record that, and send it our way, because that will be fun.
I'm just going to get a corset. I'm just going to tighten every
Hey, Spanx,
All right.
I'm just gonna wear, but I might need to start looking into those.
I'm just wearing yoga pants. That's what I'm wearing. So another great episode of Random Fit. Kat, thank you so much for joining us today here on Random Fit. And on behalf of Wendy Batts and I on Random Fit, if you like what you had to hear, please let us know. Like, follow, subscribe, comment. And as always, let us know if there's anything else you want us to discuss, talk about here on Random Fit. But until next time, take care and be well.